So welcome back to Lindertis Farms. I'm Tom Hopkinson, I look after the cattle here. Last time you were here, we were calving in April time. We're 6 months down the line and we've just started into the weaning process. The rest of calving went really well for the heifers. No calving issues at all really. They calved well, calves were lively, easily born, and there was plenty of colostrum for them once they did come out. It wasn't the case with the whole herd. We did have a slight nutrition deficit on the mature cows. The younger cows were getting an extra bit of protein. Just as they were calving so young, we just wanted to make sure they had enough to keep going on, and we definitely saw a benefit to this with the young cows. The older cows, just the nutrition wasn't quite there, and our colostrum was a bit lacking this year for them. So a real difference between the mature cows and the young cows this year. We have done some silage sampling this year to make sure that we know what our silage is. We do this every year. I don't know whether we just maybe picked some good bales last year and the whole lot wasn't as good as that. And we're also going to do some blood testing about 6 weeks pre-calving just to see where everything is and make sure we're on track for good healthy calves with good colostrum. The heifers went out in good fettle this year. They had plenty of condition about them, which was quite handy. It was a very slow spring here and then we went straight into a dry spell, so it hasn't been the easiest of summer for them, but being a native breed, they've done well at grass and they have come in reasonable condition. They've perhaps been out slightly longer than we would like. We'd like to have seen them in at least 3 weeks ago, but with sheds being still full of grain from harvest, it just wasn't going to happen. So we try and wean the calves at 6 months of age. We bring them into the sheds to do this. We don't like weaning out in the fields. We tend to find it makes a mess. So we bring them in on their mothers. They get a quiet wean tag, as you can see behind me here. And then we have 3 different vaccinations we give them. So they get intranasal for pneumonia, they get injection for mycoplasma, and then they also get an IBR live marker vaccine, and we worm them and drench them for fluke as well. So they'll have the nose flaps in for around 3 to 4 days. We then take them out and then they're into a separate shed. And then once the cows are quietened down, the more mature cows go back to grass, and the heifers that have just had their first calf, they'll stay inside, and we'll just make sure they've got plenty of energy going into them to keep them growing on. So we creep feed all the calves. The calves tend to get a creep at the beginning of September, end of August, depending on the year and the grass. We just want to make sure that they're not pulling too much from the cows, but it also just gets their tummies used to a bit of hard feed, so when they do come inside, they're not getting too much shock from, weaning, vaccinations, handling, and also a difference in feed as well. So it just kind of smooths out that transition a bit. So the heifers have gone to grass, haven't lost any calves. We've weaned 100% of what's been born in the heifers, which has been fantastic. They've weighed well at weaning. The heifer calves have weighed at 340 of an average, and the bull calves 365. That will go up. The heifers that have had bull calves have actually had some very good bull calves, and in our sales field, which is actually still out at grass, there's a lot of calves in there that are out of our heifers and they're yet to be weighed. So I suspect that 365 kilos for the bull calves will go up, which has been fantastic to see our young stock doing so well. It is a little bit behind the mature cow herd, but we're quite happy with where they are. The heifers, once they've calved, go out into one field. We try and keep them together as much as possible. If we do have to mix cows in with them for bulling groups and for size of group, then we'll try and pick out the older cows that are less likely to bully them, the slightly thinner cows or the smaller ones, just to try and keep the body size the same. And then once they come into the house, yeah, they're separate. They're mixed through at the minute just because shed space has been tight, but as soon as we've got the space, they'll be pulled out into their own group and they're fed separately. Again, if we have to mix cows in, it'll be those thinner cows that just need that extra bit of feed pre-calving time. Definitely need to look after these heifers that have just had their first calf going into their second calving. If we put them back outside like we do with the mature cows, I don't think they'll grow on well enough. It is very important just to look after them, make sure they've got enough energy to just keep moving forwards. So yeah, I think it's very important to keep them in and just look after them. So when we come to selecting a bull for the first calved heifers, we tend to use a young bull. We're quite fortunate because we breed bulls for sale. We have plenty of young bulls, so we use a bull, try and match in that body size, make sure it's not a big, heavy, mature bull going over them. And of course, over the whole herd, we do try and make sure we're using easy calving bulls. Not extreme try and stick to breed average or just below, because the breed's an easy calving breed. But yeah, we'll just make sure we're not going to land ourselves with any big calves. So the bulls went into the cows on the 29th of May. They ran with them for 9 weeks, came out on the 31st of July. This year, we decided to scan very early, so we scanned the days the bull came out of the fields. This was to try and pick up twins. Last year we didn't quite pick up all the twins at scanning, and we found we lost a couple of sets, just I think with the energy issues we were having in the mature cow herd. This wasn't helped with twins not being detected, so we've picked up a lot of set of twins this year, 2 in the heifers calves, which is quite good to see. And so we've only got the first 30 days of bulling scanned. So within that first 30 days of bulling, we've got 86% in calf, which just leaves 5 of them to double check before we send any down the road. So we're very pleased with that. Any cow on this herd that's not in calf doesn't get a second chance, regardless if it's a young cow or an old cow. If you can't produce a calf for us, there's not a space for you here. Every cow's got to be working for the herd. There's 2 heifers that did calve this spring that we decided not to keep. One was one of the earlier cows to calve. She was just a bit fidgety with her calf, didn't necessarily take to mothering that well, so we pulled her out, and there was another heifer we just felt didn't quite have as much milk as the rest. We do have a high cull rate here, bulling so many heifers compared to the size of the cow herd, so it just enables us to just go through any of these problems. We can just pull them out. We haven't had any significant issues with the heifers. As I mentioned, we did have an issue with our nutrition with the older cows. That's probably been our biggest issue this year, and hopefully we've got a plan in place. We sat down, did a full health plan with our nutritionist and our vets, and hopefully we're not going to see a repeat of that this year.